Alright, we got Adam Post's College of the Dead. I normally don't go for zombie stuff just because I never have. I've always known it's there, but I've never really explored the zombie genre. I spent a lot of years really not into media at all, so getting into horror just wasn't ever my thing. In college, maybe some guys were into horror, but they were into like the really B-movie horror, which it's just not good. Anyway, so College of the Dead, and if you by Adam Post, Stefan Petrucha, and Javier Aranda. Should have rehearsed this. Anyway, so this is apparently a creation of Adam Post, but he's not credited as the writer or artist, which is fine. Adam was previously a publisher at Triumphant. This book, it was an okay read. I actually liked it after I was finished than when I was reading it. First thing that was a little bit weird was you start the whole reading. I'm not looking directly in the camera, so let's make sure. Is all that visible? Yeah. You start out by having to read these. Reading these little character biographies really does help get your mind together. Except that reading a bunch of them at once, it becomes a blur of people. Because you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think 2 more on the next page. Oh yeah, that's 10, 14. We'll call it 13, and then of course who are the townies. So you got an introduction that throws 13 character sketches at you all at once, rather than getting to know the characters. And it does help to know a few of the main characters, but this became a lot for me to read all at once, and then oh look, more. There's one more person here, and then and then jump straight into the story, trying to remember. I guess you could call that 14 different introductions, right off the bat. So that was a little bit troublesome, but I understand where it was necessary. Now let's see. One thing, I'm getting through the negative stuff first before I get to the things I like. So the artwork's fine. This looks a little bit like a photograph. There are people who draw like this and it just ends up looking kind of photographic, so I don't know really. It's the little tiny gradations in there that make it look photographic to me. So I do like, you could call it a little gimmick, but here we see a crowd. It's drunken college students. I used to work a lot with college students, so I really don't mind seeing some of them get eaten by zombies. What do we got here? Introduction to a few characters, and because if you've read the biographies and you can match the faces, you understand who's behaving within their character. So one of the good things about the writing in here, I'm not done with the negatives yet, but a good thing here is the writer really did stick to keeping the characters consistent within their own personalities, within their own thought processes. And we have a parallel to the introduction, this time with zombies. Let's see, one thing I didn't like, and this has to do with something I don't like in real life rather than just in a book. So we see a scene, we have an instructor. This is our villainess. She is the bald lady. She's some Russian Demikov. What we have, there's a lot of, I don't know, semi-bad science going on, but that's just sci-fi and horror. There's always something wrong with the science. If people understood adenosine triphosphate and why it's needed for energy and chemical reactions, sci-fi horror would just fall apart completely. Anyway, our villainess is instructing a class. It gets interrupted by her assistant. The assistant opens the door, wham, and says, "I'm sorry, but there's an urgent message." The there indicates she knows that the door slamming with a noise is interrupting. And down here we saw that the instructor was not finished with the sentence, and then you have this whatever it is it so urgent I can't even finish my sentence. If you're already in the middle of an argument and you want somebody to stop interrupting you, I could see somebody saying this, and it's a poor way to get the point across of, please don't interrupt me. But when people in real life start talking in this way, it's really annoying. Like, there's all this talking around the thing instead of just telling me the thing. And so, at first I didn't quite like this, but I realized it just has to be done for the way the comic is framed. This, I don't think you'll want to, she's referring to want to wait, that is the so urgent that I can't even finish my sentence. I don't think you'll want to finish the sentence. Yeah, for this indicates she had to walk across the room to get that close, and this statement is meant to fill that time. Yeah, I get that. And then she's whispering what's going on. They know, and the instructor has been involved in some experimentation that's going on, and it's illicit in some way. But when people behave like this in real life, where they waste time arguing around instead of just talking to you, I find that really annoying. And so that put me off in the story just right from the beginning of, why didn't you just tell her? Oh, because it's a big secret. Well, then why'd you go through that? And I have to remember, it's just a story. This is just how people write. It's okay. They move on. The professor is doing something illicit. She's experimenting with drugs and medication on college students. It's essentially some sort of amphetamine without a major downside. It was implied in some of the promo material that what she was experimenting on could create the zombies, but that wasn't perfectly made clear to me in the two. I read this in two sittings. In the two sittings, well, I took a nap in between, but in the two sittings that it took me to read this, I didn't think that was made perfectly clear. Now, long ago, it was said to me that the horror genre was intended to be to demonstrate the unholy so that it would remind people of and drive them towards what is holy. I don't think a lot of horror is being done that way anymore, but it was good to bear in mind. That was years ago. What we've got here is a really good demonstration of how people degrade quickly. It's sort of a Christian trope to say that we all really deep down inside are as bad as anyone else. We're just not fully expressing how bad we possibly could be. And what happens with a lot of the characters in here, where many of the deaths that we see aren't, you kind of get to know a character for a few pages and then they're gone, and you think they really didn't deserve that. It's just sort of gross and happening. But we get to see certain people who hold on to their morality and their ethics, and other people who let go of them, and some people, particularly our villainess here, who are monsters in the first place, but they were just really good at hiding it, differently from people who don't let the monster out when times get hard. And so this is also a really good demonstration by the time you get to the end of the story of what is a hero versus a villain in one of the classical senses, where a hero is somebody who's more moral and the villain is somebody who's less moral. I think that was phrased as than you, so that would be more moral than the reader and less moral than the reader, but I'm not sure about that. And we do get to see who's been a monster all along, and when faced with a chance to commit the same monstrosities, how does our hero, or heroine in this case, our heroette, how does she face the problem and come out more moral in the end? And so I think that's a well-written ending to the book as we're flipping through here. I'm not going to spoil that part. Anyway, so that's College of the Dead. Took me 2 sittings to read it because I was already sleepy when I sat down to read it. Maybe that's why I didn't do well with all the introductions at the beginning. This was written by Stefan Petruccia, I guess. Sorry to Stefan if I'm saying it badly. But it's produced and put out by Mr. Adam Post. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed it. There's another book. There's a sequel to this. Not direct. I don't think it's a direct sequel. It's just another College of the Dead story. It's coming out soon. Thanks a bunch.